Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Memorial Day, Monday. Yes, it is Monday. The weekend is over. The weekend went by fast. But the weekend is not just going by fast. This month and this year is going by fast. We are in the last week of May. We are about to hit June. That's crazy, people. So we don't have time just to sit around. We don't have time just to focus and on what we want to do. We got to focus on the execution of getting things done. And this Motivation Monday, man, we are entering a brand new week and a brand new focus. For the last couple of months, we have been building discipline, emotional execution, leadership, self-governance, courage, movement, and infrastructure. But this week, we are installing the security system. Because once something becomes valuable, it must be protected. And many people, they protect their business, they protect their phones, they protect their passwords, they protect their bank accounts, they protect their social media accounts. But they leave unrestricted access to what? Their peace, their focus, their discipline, their emotional health, and their spiritual condition. They leave unrestricted access to their energy and their confidence. So this week theme, because you know we've been having a theme each week. This week theme is, if it's not protected, you don't own it. And today's conversation is protect your access point. How people access you. Protect your access point. Because every breach begins through an access point. Let's look at Proverbs 4, verse 23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Notice the language. Keep thy heart. Protect it, people. Guard it and monitor it. Because your heart is not just emotional, it's operational. Everything in your life flows through it. Today, we are talking about boundaries. We are talking about discernment. We are talking about awareness, emotional access, spiritual security, and protecting the infrastructure of the brand. And remember this, people, you are the brand. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Join us on this heavenly journey, one song at a time, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and today is Motivation Monday, and we are talking about protect your access point. See, every breach begins through an access point. And see, in cybersecurity, breaches rarely happen through brute force. Most breaches happen through authorized access, weak permissions, trusted entry points, overlooked vulnerabilities. That same thing happens in life. See, a lot of people are not destroyed through obvious attacks. They are slowly disrupted through unprotected access points. Sometimes the breach enters through relationships, conversations, emotional attachments, distractions. This big one right here, social media, your environments, and constant availability. And many people never realize the breach happened until peace disappears, focus weakens, discipline declines, and emotional exhaustion increases. See, a lot of people think destruction always arrives loudly. Sometimes it enters quietly through repeated access. small compromises, small tolerance, small permissions. And eventually, what was once a small opening becomes a major breach. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
You're riding the waves of faith and grace on Wayvve Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Motivation Monday. How you doing out there? You cooking out? You grilling? What are you doing? Or you just relaxing, getting ready for the workday tomorrow? But whatever you're doing, I'm glad you're listening to the show. All right. So let's talk about everything harmful does not arrive looking harmful. Yeah, I'm saying that again. Everything harmful does not arrive looking harmful. See, this is important. Everything harmful does not arrive looking harmful, people. Manipulation rarely introduces itself honestly. See, distractions rarely announces themselves as distractions. Emotional corruption often arrives disguised as validation, comfort, opportunity, attention, emotional support, and temporary relief. That's why discernment matters. See, because many people judge danger only by appearance, but mature people learn to study people's patterns, their fruits, their motives, their consistencies, and their emotional impact. See, some of the greatest disruption in people's lives enter through things they originally welcomed. And many people miss red flags because the packaging look attractive emotionally. Not everything that feels good is good for your system. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and this is Motivation Monday. Yes, Motivational Monday, Motivation Monday, whatever you want it to be. It's Monday. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm gonna leave you alone. But hey, let's talk about your nervous systems has motion detectors. See, God designed the human mind and nervous systems with warning systems. That uneasy feeling, that intentional tensions, internal tensions, that emotional heaviness after certain conversations, guess what? Those are motion detectors. But many people override internal warnings to preserve comfort. Why? I'm glad you asked. Because confronting red flags creates friction. And sometimes people would rather maintain temporary comfort than face difficult truth. Over time, people become conditioned to ignore their own discernment. That becomes dangerous because ignored warning signs eventually become repeated cycles. The body often detects danger before the mind fully explains it. That's why awareness matters. And people often override discernment to preserve comfort. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Motivational Monday, and we are talking about protect your access points. See, trusted access can become dangerous. Most breaches happen through trusted access. That's true emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and professionally. People usually protect themselves from obvious enemies, but they lower security around familiarity, comfort, emotional dependency, trusted voices, and repeated access. And slowly the wrong influence gains administrative privileges inside their lives. That's dangerous. Because some people are leaking emotional energy every day through relationships and environments they never audited properly. And just because someone once had healthy access does not mean they should always maintain unrestricted access. And I'm gonna say that again. Just because someone once had healthy access does not mean they should always maintain unrestricted access. See, mature stewardship requires re-evaluation. You have to re-evaluate everything. Trusted access still requires boundaries, people. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and we're talking about protect your access points. See, you cannot leave your mind unprotected. No, you cannot. See, many people are careful about what enters their bank accounts, what enters their business, what enters their devices, but careless about what enters their mind. See, constant negativity, constant comparison, constant drama, constant emotional noise, everything entering your mind affects you. It affects your focus, it affects your peace, it affects your emotional regulation, the leadership capacity, and your decision making. See, unprotected mental environments eventually creates internal exhaustion. And eventually, people start wondering why they feel emotionally unstable while consuming instability constantly. What repeatedly entered your mind eventually starts shaping your emotional environment internally, people. Your mind is an asset, protected accordingly. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Boundaries are firewalls. Yes. See, a firewall does not stop all traffic. It filters traffic. That's what boundaries do. Boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are protection systems. Healthy people understand this. Not everyone deserves unrestricted access to your time, your energy, your emotions, your focus, and your peace. And one of the biggest reasons people become emotionally exhausted is because they allow too much unauthorized traffic into their internal system. See, a lot of people are emotionally overloaded because they never learn how to filter access properly. Not every request deserves a yes. Not every relationship deserves closeness. Not every conversation deserves emotional investment. Boundaries protect access, people. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Bringing the sounds of heaven 24/7, Wayvve Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise here on this Motivational Monday, and I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and you are on Wayvve Radio. Make sure you share Wayvve Radio with your people, all right? So let's talk about emotional leakage weakens performance. See, every system leaks where it is unprotected. That is true in business, it's true in leadership, it's true in technology, it's true in relationships, and it's true in emotional health. See, when emotional leaks remain unmanaged, performance declines. Now people lose focus, they lose discipline, they lose clarity, they lose energy, and the most important of all, they lose peace. And many times they blame workload when the real issue is exposure. Too many unauthorized processes running in the background emotionally. A distracted mind cannot execute powerfully for long periods of time. And emotional leaks slowly reduce operational strength. See, unprotected leaders eventually leak performance. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about Samson. See, Samson ignored the security warnings. Yes, he did. Ooh, yes, he did. See, Samson is one of the clearest biblical examples of ignored warning signs. See, the issue was not strength. The issue was access management. He kept allowing access to environments and relationships that constantly, continuously weakened his discernment. And eventually, what was once a warning became a breach. See, a lot of people lose strength slowly through tolerated compromise. Not instantly, not gradually. Let's look at Judges 16 verse 20. And she said, "The Philistines be upon thee, Samson." And he awoke out of his sleep, and he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. That had to be terrifying. He lost awareness before he lost strength. And many people do not realize they are weakening spiritually, emotionally, and mentally because compromise often happens progressively. See, unmanaged access eventually weakens discernment. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. We talked about Samson, right? But let's talk about Nehemiah, right? See, Nehemiah built while guarding. See, Nehemiah, before I go back, let's look at Nehemiah 4 verse 17. They which builded the wall with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. That is a power leadership language. See, Nehemiah understood productivity without protection creates vulnerability. He did not stop building, but he refused to leave the perimeter undefended. That's maturity. See, some people are trying to build vision, businesses, ministries, relationships, influence without protecting the environment surrounding it. And mature builders understand this. Growth attracts attention. Expansions attract pressure. Visibility attracts access attempts. See, mature builders protect what they build. Protect your mind. Protect your discernment. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Motivation Monday, and we are talking about protect your access point, your access, how you allow people to get in. Protect that. Protect your access point. So let's look at discernment as a security system. See, discernment is more than emotions. It's a security system. It helps identify manipulation, unhealthy motives, toxic environments, emotional corruption, and false opportunities before deeper damage happens. And through God's wisdom and his son, Jesus Christ, the bad files are always revealed. See, the problem is many people ignore the notifications, and often discernment speaks quietly before consequences begin speaking loudly. That's why spiritual maturity requires attentiveness. God often reveals the breach before the collapse. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Not everyone deserves system admin access. Yeah. See, this is important, people. And I don't know if you've been listening to the show. I've been tying data security into spiritual security. I've been tying it into mental security. So I'm using cybersecurity as the foundation. I'm using it. So if you hear me, you talk about, systems and stuff. Yeah, I'm comparing the two, because guess what? we are a system. But let's talk about not everyone deserves system admin access. This is important, people. Not everyone deserves deep emotional access. Not everybody deserves unrestricted availability. Not everybody deserves constant access to your energy. And everybody do not deserve authority over your peace. See, in cybersecurity, there are access levels. Public access, restricted access, and administrative access. And mature people understand every relationship should not carry the same level of access. And many people become emotionally compromised because they gave system admin access to people who never earned stewardship responsibility. See, a lot of emotional damages happen because access was given too quickly and evaluated too slowly. Access should be earned, people, not assumed. And when I was in my cybersecurity class, it's TVs up, and they have the map, and they just show attacks. People, you are constantly being attacked without even knowing. Protect your systems. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about digital exposure is affecting mental health. I know y'all mad now. Man, you don't know. I'm all right. I can sit on social media for 12 hours. I'll be all right. It ain't affecting me. It ain't affecting my mental health. I'm sitting here looking at all these fights and people fussing and da-da-da. Guess what? Digital exposure is affecting your mental health. I don't care what you say. So many people are emotionally overstimulated constantly with notifications, drama, arguments, comparison, endless scrolling, negative content. That is digital exposure. An unfiltered digital environments creates anxiety, distraction, mental fatigue, emotional instability, and decreased focus. Some people are emotionally exhausted from information overload. And many minds never fully rest because stimulation never fully stops. Silence has become uncomfortable for people who are constantly consuming noise. See, what constantly enters your mind eventually shapes your emotional conditions. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Peace is an asset. ASSET. Yes, peace is not weakness. Peace is an asset. Peace protects your clarity. Peace protects your emotional regulation. Peace protects your focus. Peace protects your wisdom. And peace protects your decision making. And the most important of all, peace protects your leadership stability. And I said this before, we're not talking about just leading a business. We're talking about leading yourself, leading your family, leading your ministry. And people who constantly disrupt your peace are not always disrupting your emotions. Sometimes they are disrupting your operational capacity. That's why protecting peace matters. And mature leaders understand this. And I know I'm talking to a lot of mature leaders out there. And I know you understand this, but just in case if you forgot, peace increases accuracy, peace increases discernment, and peace increases consistency. Peace increases your performance. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you got a shout out or request, hit me up and I got you. I want to make sure on this Memorial Day Monday that while you're relaxing or while you're cooking out, while you're traveling back home, that, we can get what you want to hear. Because there's a lot of great music, and I know a lot of radio stations are not playing a lot of what you want to hear, but hit us up. We got you. We got you. If we can find it, we got you. All right. So this is what we need to do. We need to start a weekly security audit. We need to start conducting a weekly security audit. See, every week people should audit their relationships, their habits, their conversations, their emotional patterns, their environments, and their digital intake. Ask yourself this: what drained me this week? What strengthened me this week? What keeps leaking energy? What keeps disrupting peace? Because awareness is a protection system. Many people continue repeating cycles simply because they never stop long enough to evaluate the system honestly. See, inspection creates awareness. Awareness creates correction. You cannot secure what you refuse to audit. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Monday. Yeah. One more time, y'all, bring it back. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Monday. Yeah. Okay, don't mind me, y'all. I like to act silly sometimes. But hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this beautiful Monday. This is Motivation Monday. And I know it's Memorial Day Monday, but I want to continue to build you, to help you grow. Why? Because it's all about you, the brand. And I need to help you discover and develop your talent, your skill. But you have to protect it, though. You have to protect what you have. So let's talk about this. Protect the brand. And you are the brand. See, many people think branding is logos, marketing, visibility, and presentations. But the real brand is your mind, your discipline, your peace, your emotional health, your spiritual condition, and your integrity. And if your internal system collapses, eventually the external image follows. A powerful image cannot permanently hide an unhealthy internal infrastructure. Sooner or later, the breach becomes visible publicly, people. Protecting yourself is protecting the brand. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Man, my time is up. It's been great. It's been lovely on this Motivation Monday and this Memorial Day Monday. And if you miss any part of this show, please go back to my YouTube channel and listen to the show entirely. And listen to other shows that you might have missed, or other shows you might have been like, I didn't catch all that. But guess what? You can catch everything. Just go to my YouTube channel, The Business Point Guard, and you can listen to every show in its entirety, just minus the music, okay? And you'll get through it quicker. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. But let me leave you with this. Let's look at Ephesians 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. You got to protect from your mind all the way to your feet. You got to put on the whole armor of God. And if you don't put on the whole armor of God, it's no way that you can be protected. I know I share a lot of tools to help you build your brand, but God should come first. God is the center. He is your power. He is your source through his son, Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, people, you got to put on the whole armor of God. See, this week it's about protection. It's about discernment. It's about vigilance. It's about awareness. It's about boundaries. It's about stewardship. Because if it's not protected, you don't own it. Install the firewall, people. Monitor the perimeter. Protect your access points. Guard your peace. Strengthen your discernment. And stop giving unrestricted access to everything trying to disrupt your purpose, your progress, and your peace. Because every strong system requires maintenance, vigilance, monitoring, and protection. Protect the brand, people. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Motivation Monday, and we are going to have an impactful week. So I need for you to join me tomorrow on Triumph Tuesday. I am out of here. Peace.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.